Well guys, I recently did a build for the mid-range with an RTX 5070 and a Ryzen 7 9700X, which is pretty much the best value for money gaming PC on the mid-range, which you can build brand new right now. However, a lot of you guys asked I do the same, but for the Intel counterpart. And now, listen, value for money wise, AMD is currently winning if we are talking just gaming, unless you go with some very high speed RAM, which is now getting cheaper actually. However, again, it's not really good value for the mid-range. So today I did a full Intel build, but it is not only gaming focused. It can game very well, but this is tailored towards a more complete use case. So you want to do some productivity, and it's also why the PC looks like this. Now we did waste technically some money in this build. It was actually money well spent, but we spent it on aesthetics and a few little things, which you can actually save to make a very close build to the AMD counterpart. Because really, we don't have higher cooling requirements anymore. We don't have higher PSU requirements, really. We have the same features, so the only difference is the price of the motherboard and the CPU compared to a Ryzen counterpart. And if you buy stuff right, we are talking probably 50 bucks, 100 bucks at most if you buy a good motherboard because you want to do some overclocking. So it's not too far off. Now, what did I get? I got a Core Ultra 5 245K because it's the only choice pretty much. I'm still waiting on decent prices for the non-K CPUs, which I hope are gonna come. If you take this one and overclock it, it goes really fast. It actually goes faster in gaming than the Ryzen 7 9700X if you tweak it right. However, where this excels is productivity. So with the right overclock, this is over double the performance of a Ryzen 7 9700X. And it's actually faster by a long shot also than the Ryzen 7 9900X 3D because that is only a gaming CPU. It also does productivity very well, and I have one for productivity, don't get me wrong, but it's mostly focused towards gaming. So anyways, I went with a cheap micro RTX Z890 motherboard. Again, since we only have K CPUs for decent prices, we may as well get a good motherboard, and that's the key with an Intel build right now, 2025. So decent motherboard from Gigabyte, fully unlocked. Then I went cheap on the RAM. I got some very cheap XPG RAM. I also saved up my 10 to 15 bucks on RGB and got it without. I then went with Kingston as usual for the SSD. They have the best value stuff at the moment. It's very hard to compete. Motherboard has decent heatsink. I went with a 650 watts PSU because this CPU doesn't draw much power, and the GPU I also got is very good efficiency wise. I also saved money on the power supply by not getting an ATX 3.0 compatible one. That's something you can do. There's really no difference if you're buying a mid-range card. I wouldn't really do it on the high end. And I've gotten one of the best RTX 5070s out there if you want to spend a bit more, and it's the TUF RTX 5070 from ASUS. Now this has gotten its own review on my channel because even though I'm not sponsored, by the way, they aren't sending me anything. I think this is one of the few cards from ASUS which actually makes sense. I think the Astra lineup is overpriced. They also had issues with the fans. They don't overclock any better than normal cards because it's all silicon quality at the end of the day, and the power delivery is nothing special. So if you want to buy something that's premium, if you have this very metal black look, the TUF is a good buy. And I think in a case like this, even though it has little to no RGB, it shines because it's a more elegant case. And the case, of course, it's the Cubo Kanto. Now, I've done already a build with this, with an RTX 3090 back in the day. So if you want to go look a completely different build, you can go check that one out because that one was higher end. But we've gotten an air cooler. We went with a Ryzen 7 1300X 3D and a 3090. This is basically a case which is made of real wood and extremely high quality material. And it is definitely expensive, coming in at over 200 bucks. You have to buy directly from the company. But I think if you want something unique, this is one of the few cases on the market which actually have something unique to them. Because again, real wood, you can open and close the panel, they slot in, they all feel very smooth. The top covers the cables. You have USB-C, USB 3.0 and the power button popping out. The rest of the cable you slide through the back where also the fans and your GPU I/O is. The case is reversed, so as you can see, the GPU is actually fully tilted by 90 degrees to be mounted, which is really, really cool. To actually unlock the extra space for the GPU, you can take off the panel from the bottom. And you can actually fit as big as a GPU as you want. In this case, you can even put a 5090 in if you want. Even a Strix would fit, which is crazy good. It's gonna cover your connectors on the motherboard though, so you gotta connect them before you actually put the GPU in. Quite a bit unique, but it definitely looks the part. And I decided to populate it all with Valkyria fans because I've gone with a Valkyria cooler, because again, the idea on this build is taking advantage of the overclocking a little bit, because those Core Ultra 5 CPUs, they have very bad launch reviews because they were launched a bit prematurely. And we had a lot of task scheduler issues in Windows 11. We had problems with RAM compatibility, meaning they wasn't really utilizing the high-speed RAM which you can give them. Also, we did not have the new type of RAM out yet. But nowadays, if you go into the BIOS, you update it to the latest version, you get the latest version of Windows 11, and you tweak the settings a little bit, you're gonna get probably around 25% more than the original launch reviews which you see on the internet. So they're definitely worth considering. But again, even though they don't draw that much, they have a lot of cores, so a good water cooler like this Valkyria Scene 240 I've got here is a good buy. Now this is also not a cheap cooler, but they are now on discount, I think because they're about to release the new lineup, so end of lineup re-release. I've had a lot of these on the channel, usually the 360 though. This is the first 240, and I was shocked by how good the performance is. We are literally not that far behind a 360. Chart-topping numbers for a 240. Valkyria is definitely doing something right. They also have a full software, which I covered again recently in another build of mine, which is massive. You can change the LCD on your water cooler, of course, but you can actually control pretty much 3/4 of your system. You can control the lighting, even some Windows setting, and even do like a little bit of GPU overclocking. I don't know why they put so much stuff in it, but it's pretty cool. Also, this one is the black version, which comes out of the box with red accents, and they're all magnetic, so you can take them off and replace them with blue ones if you want, depending on your build. It's all controllable via software, 3-pin, daisy chainable, easy to mount. These components are very good, guys. I actually recommend the whole build if you want to replicate it. You can swap out, of course, the motherboard, and maybe even get a Core Ultra 7 or Core Ultra 9, and do a high-end build. In a case like this, it's going to be sick. On the other hand, if you want to just do Core Ultra 5 5070 build, I think it should be productivity oriented with a slightly better cooler than a Ryzen 7 would need, and you can then save money on the power supply, motherboard, even the RAM really, SSD, and just get it cheap and just game on it. It's gonna serve you guys well. So with that said, what can this thing do in gaming? Well, it's gonna max out 5070 regardless. That's the point. Like 9700X and also this are gonna max out 5070 unless you put yourself in very high CPU bound scenarios like 1080p CS2, for example. Then you're gonna see one or the other exceed by little margin. So again, they are virtually the same. You should buy them for productivity or to save money. One or the other, if it makes sense. So the target is going to be, of course, very high refresh rate 1080p gaming, high refresh rate 1440p gaming, and 4K gaming with DLSS. That's basically where you're at. And with that said, as usual, I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know if you like the Kanto, if you like the Valkyria stuff down below in the comments. And if you would have changed anything, as usual, let me know. The comments are the thing I care about the most on this channel, and I want to hear what you guys think. And if you watched the video this far, maybe subscribe. And I hope to see you guys again. Bye-bye.